Hey, what's up guys, and welcome back to Anime King. And today I'm going to be giving you part 32 of What If Naruto was sent to the Marvel world. Remember to get this one to 200 likes as usual. Share this to all of your friends on your social media platform. And also guys, stay in tune for What If Naruto's a Badass Genius that I'm going to be posting on this channel. And over on Anime King 2, I'm going to be posting a brand new episode of What If Naruto was a smart prodigy. So stay tuned for that, and I hope you guys enjoy. And later on, I'm going to be posting a new episode of What If Aizuna Uchiha was Naruto's ancestor. So stay tuned for that, and I hope you guys enjoyed as well. And remember, if you're new and this is the first time hearing my voice and you enjoy the videos on both Anime King and Anime King 2, go ahead and click that red subscribe button and become a part of the Anime King family. And thank you for all of your help and your support, guys. And remember to comment down below and tell me if you're new. I'll be replying talking back to all of you. So yeah, without further ado, let's begin the new episode. Start the intro.
I think the girls with their nails done now. Girls with their nails done. I think the girls with their nails.
So the last time we left off, Naruto, Jessica Joe, Ileana and Thor went to nowhere as they were going to try and collect the stone, the reality stone, from the collectors. Arriving there, they noticed that the entire place was on fire as they investigate even more. As Naruto asked Thor, what are those? As a man attacked them, as Thor said that you're Centurion 6. Naruto then told Ileana and Jessica to run as fast as possible and get back to the ship now. As both of them were confused, but he told him that Star Tone to run. So they did as they were told as they went back to the ship. The moment they got there, they were surrounded by Centurion 6 as they had to fight their way out of it. As Thor asked Naruto what is going on, and Naruto told Thor that Centurion 6 was taking over and they bowed down to the man that took over their planet and wiped out half of them. The Mad Titan, a monstrous man, then arrived that was about 8 feet tall, muscles all around him. As Thor told Naruto he will take care of this, as Naruto went inside to see Thanos standing over the collector body. He already had the gauntlet and the reality stone vibrating inside of it. As he turned towards Naruto, the both of them after a while started the battle as Naruto didn't agree with Thanos. As the both of them were pushing each other, Thanos taking Naruto's blast like they were nothing and using reality stone as expertly as possible until Naruto entered Cosmic Sage mode. As Thanos then saw Naruto's speed and strength increase as Naruto started to beat the crap out of Thanos and drive a sword right through his chest. Thanos dropped to the ground as Naruto took off his arm and the gauntlet dropped, but it was revealed that Thanos was only a fake, an illusion conjured by the reality stone. And with that, the group left. We then skipped to Thanos as the other asked him what now. Thanos had to admit Naruto was too strong for him. With one stone, he cannot beat Naruto. He cannot hope to defeat him, so he has to find a way. And what is that way? The other then spoke. If you want to break someone, take away what they love. Time passed as we escaped back to Earth, as the group lived in a monstrous house, as it was given to them by Shiori. She will be coming by later on to set up all the equipments, as they had an indoor pool and everything, a training field, everything they could possibly hope for, and many rooms. So when they get the other members of Infinity Watch, they could stay there as well. As Naruto and Jessica decided to take a look around the town to make sure everything's going smoothly, as they didn't bring Ileana with them because she didn't want to help out with the moving in. As a man was robbing in the town, it was Naruto, but it was a fake, as he robbed a bunch of money and then he was stopped by Spider-Man. As the both of them started a battle until Spider-Man heard something behind him, as Jessica then landed and electrocuted the man, as his real face was shown. He was wearing a white mask. As Spider-Man was surprised when Naruto arrived behind him, as they said they will take care of this guy, and they start to walk off with him. Spider-Man, knowing that he was getting left behind, he decided to follow them. So yeah guys, that was basically the last part we left off. You guys can switch across the place and check it out for yourself. So what do you say we begin this new episode? Realizing that they were left him behind, Spider-Man jumped off the roof. "Hey, wait for me," he said, as he landed. As Naruto turned to watch as a kid awkwardly dropped to the ground. It looked kinda funny to Naruto. As Spider-Man caught up, so did two officers with their sirens blaring. Stepping out, the officers took the imposter from Jessica, throwing him in the back of the car. Pulling out a pad, the other officers looked at them. "I need to see your guy's registration." "They ain't registered," other officer said as he wrote into a pad of his own. "Don't you recognize them? That's Maelstrom and Agent Drew. They're good to go." "Right," the first officer said, but he didn't seem too happy with it. He then turned towards Spider-Man. "What about him?" As Spider-Man shuffled nervously, "He's with us," Naruto said. Spider-Man shot up his head in confusion. "Really?" the second officer said, as he looked at Naruto. "We heard that you and your friends weren't to be bothered, but this kid wasn't part of the list that we were given. If he ain't registered, we have to take him in with us." "He's new," Naruto said, daring the officer to challenge him. "If it wasn't for him, we wouldn't have gotten whoever this is." The officer spoke. "Who he is isn't any of your..." "His name is Demetrius Murdikoff, Jessica." Much to the officer's displeasure, he's been on Interpol's most wanted nearly for a decade now. His MO is disguising himself as celebrities while committing series of robberies. You will be surprised how compliant people are when they're getting robbed by Leonardo DiCaprio or Brad Pitt. Seeing the cat was out of the bag, the second officer spoke. "He's been running around Queens and Harlem, robbing banks, looking like Mr. Uzumaki over here. You know, his impression of you is pretty good. Good number of people thought it was you for a bit. But once we got word from Interpol, we knew what was what." "I guess I should be flattered," Naruto said, as he looked at the now conscious Dimitri. The man was glaring at Naruto. Several questions later, when the Dimitri and the officers were out of sight, Jessica turned towards Spider-Man. A hand on her hip, she looked at him. "You're not registered." As he looked like he was already hightailed out of there. "Well, the thing is, Jessica," Naruto said, as she looked ready to argue with him, but she sighed as she just simply turned away. As Naruto looked at Spider-Man. "You hungry?" he asked. Moments later, on a roof, a block over, Naruto just finished his hot dog. As he watched a kid eat, he was sitting on a ledge next to him. He was kicking his feet, back and front without a care in the world. "So, how old are you, kid?" Naruto asked. Spider-Man, with his mask partially pulled up so he can eat his hot dog, swallow, as he cleared his throat. As he spoke in a voice that was deeper than when he was speaking to them before. 7, 18, he said. "Right," Naruto said. Spider-Man swung around. "So, you're really him, Naruto Uzumaki, the guy people call Maelstrom and stuff." "Yeah, that's me," Naruto said. Spider-Man said, taking another bite. "What?" said Naruto. "Well, I guess I'd have thought you'd be a little more intimidating or something." Naruto chuckled a bit. "You want me to do something flashy to prove I'm legit?" "Well, I had a pretty interesting day with the Naruto Uzumaki imposter and all. I don't think you can blame me for wanting some proof." "Fine," Naruto said, as he created a Rasengan in his palm. Spider-Man's eyes widened. "Wow," he said. "Good enough?" Naruto asked. "Yeah, you're the real deal," the kid said, as the Rasengan vanished. As Spider-Man pulled back down his mask. "So your turn, kid. How old are you really?" "I told you I'm stop lying," Naruto said. "Going off of your voice and your height and size, I would say you're around 14, give or take." Spider-Man's shoulders slumped in defeat. "I'm 15, he said, as he stopped deepening his voice. As Naruto smiled, "So what's a pajama wearing? 15-year-old doing fighting crimes on the street." "They're not pajamas," Spider-Man said. "It's a hoodie and some sweatpants. It's not like there's a super hero store for me to go to." Still doesn't answer why a 15-year-old kid is out stopping bank robbers. "I don't know. Why do you do it?" Spider-Man said. "And you should know why I wear a mask." Naruto nodded. No one's gonna let a underage kid become a registered mask, no matter how impressive he may be. Spider-Man perked up. "You really think I'm impressive?" he said. Naruto laughed. "Yeah, kid. You definitely got my interest." As he stood up proudly. "Yeah, well, you can't really fight for shit though," Naruto cut him off. He immediately deflated. "Come on, man," he said. "Who taught you how to throw a punch anyway?" Naruto asked. "My uncle did," Spider-Man said, his arms falling to his side. "What's wrong with the way I fight?" "Well, for one, your stance is all wrong." Naruto then thought, "Here, let me show you." as he shifted his feet and bent his knees as he lifted his arm up in front of him. Spider-Man, realizing that Naruto wanted to mimic him, he slipped in a stance like that. Like this, he asked. Loosen up a little, Naruto said, bouncing on his toes to show his point. Oh, okay, Spider-Man said, as he did what Naruto said. What's your dominant hand, Naruto said. The right. Naruto nodded. Alright. So as you swing your right first, leaning with your shoulder, and then rotate your fist. Got that? Okay. Now hit me, Naruto said. For real? Spider-Man asked. I hit pretty hard. Don't hold back, Naruto said. Spider-Man got in his stance again, as he started to bounce on his toes. As he sent a fist towards Naruto's face, but Naruto simply slapped it away. Again, Naruto said. With another grunt, he sent another fist towards Naruto's chin. This time, Naruto grabbed his wrist and flipped him over his shoulder. Spider-Man hissed in pain as the ear was knocked out of him from the landing. Rolling onto his stomach, he looked up at Naruto. You okay, kid? Naruto asked. Yeah, totally fine, he said, as Naruto gave him a helping hand and helped him up. Your uncle ever show you how to take a hit? Naruto asked. No, he said, rubbing his bruised back. Maybe you should ask him, Naruto said. When the kid didn't answer, Naruto said, or maybe I could. Really? Spider-Man said. Sure, if you want, Naruto said. Yes, he said rather quickly. He realized he was being too jumpy. Sure, I guess, he said. Naruto walked over to the edge of a ledge. So, if you're 15, shouldn't you be in school or something? I'm on summer vacation, Spider-Man said. Even I know that summer vacation ended a few weeks ago. Skipping school, kid, Naruto asked. Well, you see, as he's continuing to stutter. Hey, believe me, Naruto said. I get it. You do? Spider-Man said. Sure. But then again, I wasn't exactly the smartest kid around. Can't really say that about you though. He said, looking at the kids, web shooters. Spider-Man looked down. You could say that, he said. Where do you go to school, Naruto asked. Midtown School of Science and Technology, he said, rubbing the back of his neck. Really? Wow, Naruto said. Well, come on. There is still enough time in the day to get you back. Seriously? Spider-Man said. In an exhausted tone. Trust me, kid. You will thank me later, Naruto said. Spider-Man nodded. Well, from his body language, he didn't agree. Well, what am I supposed to say when I show up, he said. Leave that to me, Naruto said. Minutes later, I just don't know about this. As Naruto sighed as the kid was in a porta potty. Come on, kid, your secret's safe with me. Just get out here already. Fine. As Spider-Man stepped out. The teen didn't look special. If he was in a crowd, he wouldn't stick out between anyone else. His brunette hair was combed out and pressed down tight because of his mask, as he had on a blue t-shirt with the chemical symbols for oxygen on the chest. As Naruto reached out his hand, Naruto Uzumaki Naruto's head. Spider-Man hesitated before finally taking a hand. Wesley Crusher, he said. Nice to meet you, Wesley, Naruto said. No, come on. You wasted enough time about me telling anyone about your secret identity. Hey, how am I supposed to get a hold of you for the training and stuff? You got like a Maelstrom phone I should call you on, or how about you give me your number and we go from there, Naruto said. And Maelstrom phone? Really? Wesley shrugged. Hey man, I don't know how this professional superhero gig work. Cut me some slack, jeez. As Naruto gave Wesley's phone, here's a tip. If it's from a cartoon from the 2000s, that's usually not how it goes, Naruto said. Should I write this down or something? Here's another tip, Naruto said. You should memorize every gem that I drop. And how will I know it's a gem, said Wesley, as Naruto got back his phone. What do you think, Naruto asked while pocketing his phone. Just assume that everything's a gem, Wesley said. You learn fast, kid. So, should I call you Sensei or what? No, Naruto said immediately. Don't be lame, kid. One bus ride later, Naruto and Wesley stood in front of the high school. Naruto's hand still on the kid's shoulder. Walking inside, everyone was gawking as Naruto waved to them, as all of them were pointing at him. Stepping into the office, Naruto stopped right at the desk, as the secretary was writing something on the computer. What can I do for you? She paused, looking up at Naruto. I'm here to drop off a student, Naruto said, as she was staring. Hello, Naruto said. I'm sorry, what? She said. Naruto pointed his thumb at Wesley. I'm here to drop off a student. Oh, yes, she said, as she looked over at Wesley. Oh, Mr. Parker. Mr. Parker, Naruto said, raising an eyebrow, as Parker dropped his head sheepishly. Parker, said a voice, as they turned to see a man of Asian descent walking out of the office room. As he reached the both of them, he folded his arms across his chest. It's 10 o'clock. Mind telling me why you're this late again? Well, said Peter. I can answer that, I think, Naruto said, getting the man's attention. A look of recognition came from the man, but he shook it off as he asked, And how will you do that, Mr. Maelstrom, he said. Naruto blinked at the man formality. It's Naruto, that's fine, Mr. Naruto said. Morita, Principal Morita. Now how is it that you know Mr. Parker exactly? Well, I really wouldn't say I know the kid. I just caught him when he was in trouble. Trouble? Morita said, with concern dripping into his voice as he looked towards Parker. Yes, I was making my rounds through Queens when I saw Mr. Parker over here getting mugged by what it looks like to be middle school girls. Naruto lied, fighting a grin that wanted to come up at Peter, mortified expression. The principal raised an eyebrow at Parker, asking for confirmation. Peter swallowed his pride. Yes, that's what happened, he said. Well, the principal said, I suppose we should call the police. Don't worry, I took care of that. I gave the girls a talking, very inspiring, completely heartfelt. The kid isn't going to have a problem with them again. Naruto turned towards Peter. The kid avoided eye contact with the principal. Isn't that right, Parker, Naruto said. The principal looked like he wanted to argue, but he seemed satisfied that Naruto handled the situation. Alright, Parker, go ahead and get to class. We will talk later. Peter nodded as he gave Naruto a handshake. Thanks again for helping me out. Anytime, Parker. Naruto teased, watching as the kid flinch as he walked out of the office. As Naruto stood there, as the principal was looking at him, as Naruto waited for him to say something. Mind if I get an autograph? The principal asked. After an autograph and several pictures taken, Naruto finally walked out of the school. Passing track and field, he stopped as his phone started to vibrate, pulling it out. As he answered, hello? As a muffled voice came through. Yeah, sure, Naruto said, I'll be there. Are you sure? He was cut off by the voice talking. Alright, I'll be there, he said. He hung up the phone and put it away. You can come out now, he said. Landing deadly behind him, Jessica straightened up. How long did you know, she said. Oh, come on, Jess, Naruto said. You never left. You've been tailing me since I asked you to scram. Jessica tailed after him. Who was the hot dog, she said. Is that really what you want to ask? Or are you trying to lower my guard with bullshit questions? You know, I'm not as dumb as my file said. I wouldn't know anything about that, she said. Official shield file of one Uzumaki Naruto started to recite. Incredibly powerful. On a level that is unseen in scope or measure. Should be seen as a threat all time. Keep up the constant guard. Only known weakness is a lack of overall knowledge on Earth. And all over intelligence. Easily distracted. Small talk and accusations against his home planet. And what does my file say, Jessica asks. But Naruto ignored that. What did you want to ask, really? Can we at least get out of here, she said, walking beside him. People are staring. Looking around, people are staring at them. Several phones out taking pictures and video. As Naruto grabbed her on the waist and the both of them vanished. Meanwhile, at the house, Ileana huffed as she pulled down another box. Ding dong as the doorbell went off. As one of the shadow clones pushed out his head. Who is it, he asked. How the hell should I know? She said, walking past him. Magic, sorcerer, the clone kept calling out, but she ignored them as the clones were downstairs setting the TV and everything. As she peeped outside. On the other side of the door, Owen Reese waited awkwardly as she opened it. You're Elisa, right? Ileana, she said. Welcome to home base, she said. Right, Owen said, as he took in this large building. While Owen was distracted, she noticed a suitcase by his side. Is the rest of your luggage coming later or... That's it, he said. Right, she said as she put on a smile. Well, at least you don't have a lot to unpack. Come on in. Stepping inside, Owen looked around at the massive house. As the Naruto clone just went around, dealing with things. As she decided to give him a tour. Later, and there's a living room. Our benefactor. Bought furniture and appliance for us. Haven't really got a chance to test them out yet, honestly. Ileana said, heading toward the stairs. The kitchen and the dining room is down the hall. Some clones doing grocery shopping, so we might not have the best selection for a while. But if you got any requests, let us know the next time he go out, any of us. You got any drinks you like, she asked. Kool-Aid, I guess, Owen said. When Ileana gave him an amused look, he muttered. Prison doesn't exactly have a whole lot of options, except for water and Kool-Aid, he said. At least I thought it was Kool-Aid. A kid, a cell over, thought it was Flavor Aid. Well, he was crazy. You got a flavor you like, Ileana asked. Anything but grape, he said. I hate grape. Why, she asked, as she was expecting a simple answer like I just do. Jonestown, he said. Oh, alright, she said. As they reached the second floor, so, Which one's my room, he asked. The white hallway was decorated with rooms on each side. 8 room on this floor alone. Well, Naruto called the closest room on the left. I've taken the room on the right. And Jessica's room is next to Naruto's, so... I got it, he said. I think I got it from here. As he headed to the far left room on the hallway. Gotta unpack and stuff. Are you sure? Ding dong! The bell went off again. Ileana groaned in agitation as Owen disappeared into his new room. Come in, she called out, as she heard on the step doorbell ring for a second time. As she finally reached, it rang again. As she was about to grip the door handle, it rang again. I said I'm coming, she said, as she swung the door open. As Ileana raised her eyebrow to who was there, it was Okoi from Wakanda. As Okoi looked at her, which Okoi said, as she was wearing a black jacket, black pants, and dressing boots. She wasn't wearing her Dorama outfit. Baldy, said Ileana. As the two got nose to nose, someone spoke. Miss Magic. As Shiri popped up. As Shiri was oddly dressed, with most of her body covered up, and she had on a giant pair of glasses, something you would see in Adventure Time. After taking her in, Ileana recognized her. Shiri, right? Shiri said, with a giant nod. Well, it's nice to meet you. As she extended her hand to shake Shiri's hand. Please do not touch a princess, Okoi said, as she stepped between them. Before Ileana could say anything, Okoi stepped past her into the house. So this is the house the princess bought for you, Okoi said. I see, she went overboard. Again. Overboard? This is even better than I thought, Shiri said. As she stopped right at Ileana. And she can shake my hand, General. Lighten up. Nice to meet you, Shiri said, as Ileana took her hand. Thank you, by the way, for all of this, said Ileana, as the both of them shook hands. So, Shiri said, where's my lab? Come on, said Ileana. Meanwhile, Naruto and Jessica were sitting on a rooftop. As the place was rather loud, while Jessica could tune it out, she saw that Naruto was struggling with it. But just as he seemed overwhelmed, he simply pushed aside. So, you had a question to ask? He's a little young, don't you think, she said, getting straight to the point. Naruto tilted his head. How old were you when you started? 18, she said. Well, I was 12. 15, split the difference, Naruto said. Jessica narrowed her eyes. And because of that, you think he's ready for what you expect of us? Do you honestly think he could have handled what happened out of nowhere? He's just a boy. I never said I was going to make him a part of the team, Naruto said. What then, she asked. I don't know how long you've been involved in this kind of thing, but I've seen more kids like him to know his story. He's not gonna stop. Me, you, the Avenger, the government, doesn't matter who tell him to stop. Because he's gonna keep going. He's gonna go until he makes it or breaks it. And almost every time kids like him break, he needs someone to show him the way. To keep him from making the same stupid mistakes we all make. Because if not, one of these days it's gonna be some dead kid on the pavement. And what if you getting involved is what get him hurt? Then it wouldn't be on him, it would be on you, she said. I'd rather give the kid what he needs than let him fend for himself. But don't worry, I'm well aware he's my responsibility, Naruto said. Alright, Uzumaki said. So long as you understand the boy is in your hand. I would appreciate if you didn't tell Ross or your superiors about the kid, Naruto said. You're joking, right? Does it look like I'm joking, Naruto said. You can't expect me to, but Naruto cut her off. I expect you to do what you're told, he shouted, as he was nose to nose with her. Blinking, he realized he lost his cool, as he took a deep breath and forced his tone to be calm. You going on about him being a kid? Well, guess what? If you tell Ross or the CIA, you're just gonna be feeding him to the wolves. He's under their radar. They don't care about a kid swinging around some roof in Queens when they got a Norse god tearing up London, robots blowing up cities, secret teams and super soldiers down in Washington DC. That's a war zone. They won't notice him if he doesn't make a lot of noise. But if you put that bullseye on his back, if you force him down that path, happening to him is much on you as it is on me. Can you handle that? Can you turn that kid into a soldier? Speaking from personal experience, it doesn't end well. Jessica glared up at him, only faltering slightly. I can't say nothing. It would look suspicious, he said. Tell them I handle it. Leave it unspecific as possible, Naruto said. But the way he spoke, it was a command. Telling the truth, a little of the truth, when the truth is possible. I didn't think you had it in you, she said. You're not the only one who's got a thing for being sneaky. I thought you were better than at me though. Isn't being a spy your whole thing? With being an international woman of mystery and all. I may be a whatever you just call me, but espionage, it wasn't one of them that I was sent for, she said. Right, Naruto said, so that leaves plan B. As he pulled his phone out. Come on, we're late. Looking at him confused. Late for what? Jessica asked. Press conference, Naruto said. What? Moments later, Owen sighed as he placed the next sock in his chest drawer. This place was huge. At least 4 times bigger than his apartment in Winchester. Well, it was a large step up. As he pulled out a pack of cigarettes, as he brought one up to his lips, the tip was suddenly wrapped in a flash of energy. As soon as the energy gone, it was lit up. As he took a drag, a voice came from behind him. You think you can take that outside? Owen jumped, coughing on the smoke that he swallowed. As he turned to see a Naruto clone. What the hell, man, he said, doing coughs. Just popped in to see how you were doing, the clone said, without a care in the world. So, how you doing? Owen moved towards the window as he opened it, as he blew out a cloud of smoke. As Naruto watched as a cloud changed form and turned into a resembling of Owen. So how exactly are you going to train me? The clone shrugged. We will get to that later. Right now the boss just want to make sure that you're comfortable. You ever thought about rebelling against a boss? Owen asked, blowing out another cloud of smoke. This time it shifted into the form of a dragon. The smoke Owen, now riding smoke dragon, gave a battle cry and ride up into the air. Well, technically, we are each other. I can't really rebel against myself, the clone said, as he didn't really know how to answer the question. Owen threw away his half-lit cigarette. Sure you can, he said. Before the clone could answer, Ileana spoke. Okay, so I pressed this button. Owen looked around the room. Is that a PA system? The clone smiled. Yeah, we just finished installing it a few minutes ago. Pretty neat, huh? A sheer voice could be heard in the background telling Ileana that the PA system was on. Hey, Owen, could you head down to the basement, please? Ileana said. Owen shrugged. I don't really, but the clone grabbed onto him and the both of them flashed into the basement as Owen fell over. Feel like it, he finished his sentence. What the hell was that, he said. Hirishin, the clone said. You'll get used to it, promise. Right, he said, as he picked up himself as he saw Shuri, as she was sitting next to Ileana in front of a large computer screen. What do you need, he asked. Him, Ileana said, pointing at the other clone over there. Owen looked at the first clone. He then turned to the one that brought him down here. You couldn't have told me, he asked. You think we have some kind of psychic connection? The two of them said at the same time. Both of them then looked at each other. Whoa, that's freaky. The one that brought Owen down then poofed away. Ileana rubbed her temple with her finger as she looked at the screen that Shuri was typing something on. His clones are a pain in the ass already. God forbid they start to have psychic thoughts. Okoi, who was standing behind Shuri, looked at Owen. This is him. What do you need? Owen asked, trying to get to the point. Just figure you should come down and meet the crew, the clone said that. I'll smile. General Okoi over here thinks I'm full of it. When I tell her what can actually do. I never said anything about you being full of what you're supposedly full of, Okoi said. And excuse me for being skeptical about a man who can make anything out of nothing. Owen started to rub at his elbow. I wouldn't call it that, he said. Don't listen to him, the clone interrupted. He's just being modest. Alright then, Okoi said. Let's test his talent. Alright, said Owen, as everyone looked at him. Hit me. Make a cheer, the clone said, as yellow energy started to envelop his hand, humming aggressively. As everyone knows that cheer just came from nothing, a simple wooden cheer. Wow, that's cool, Shuri said. Okoi hummed to herself. Could you make a Komoya bead charging pad? A certain person forgot hers back home. I don't know what that is, Owen said, taking a seat on a new brand new chair. Even if I did, I'm not that great at making electronics. There are so many working parts, it's hard to make them so they work. It's like making a watch, you know? Okoi, clearly not impressed, folded her arms across her chest. What's it saying? Premium steak. This is one of those, Uzumaki. What are you talking about? Naruto said. This guy's awesome. Okoi shrugged. If you say so, Uzumaki. So what else can you do? Shuri asked as she turned away from her computer. Well, I can turn stuff into other things. Make them disappear. Animate objects. Whoa, 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 Shuri said. So wait, you can make that cheer, run around and stuff. Sure, said Owen. Well, do it. As Owen gave a small smile. Sure, why not, he said, as he placed his glowing left hand on the back of a chair. As the chair started to creak a bit. The chair then started to run as it slammed into a support beam and fell on its side as it still continued to move its leg like it was running on the ground. Shuri and Ileana giggled as the chair rotated in a circle along. As the Naruto clone chuckled and Okoi, serious facade, started to turn into a slight amusement. Owen smiled as he stuffed his hands into his pockets as the group was at its chairs trying to pick itself up. Time skip. Naruto sighed as he and Jessica were dragged into the backstage of the Avenger Tower briefing room, waiting to hear what Tony was announcing. Feeling a tap on his shoulder, he turned to see Wanda standing behind him. Hey, Naruto said with a smile. What are you doing here? He asked. Stark told me to come. Something about a rebranding. Rebranding, Jessica said. The Avenger? As Wanda looked at her. Who are you? Name is Spider-Woman, said Naruto. This is Spider-Woman. Wanda blinked. Spider-Woman? What's a Spider-Woman? And why is he calling you that? Jessica opened but then closed her mouth as she turned away as she didn't have a response. Naruto Uzumaki, a man dressed in an Air Force uniform office, walking towards him. The man reached his hand out, offering a handshake, as Naruto did. James Rhodes, Naruto said. It's good to finally meet you. Honestly, a little surprised to know that you know who I am, James said. Considering the things I heard about you, I didn't know that I was on your radar. You kidding, Naruto said. Anyone called War Machine is immediately put on my radar. It's probably the most second badass code name I ever heard. What's the first? Jessica asked. Spider-Woman, of course, Naruto said. Jesus Christ, would you ever drop that? She asked. Not until it sticks and everyone started to call you that, Naruto said. Oh, it has, said James. Murmurs then break out as Naruto looked on the stage to see Tony walking out. As he reaches the center podium, as pictures flashes everyone started to take. Good morning, everyone, Tony said, as the room went quiet to hear what he has to say. I think we can skip the small talk and cut right to the chase. 7 years ago, I sat in front of you people here, most of you well, and told you about an epiphany I had in the desert, about the realization I had. Told you that I become a part of a system with zero accountability. I claimed that I had more to offer than just making things blow up. I promised change, not just from Stark Industries, but from myself as well, and I thought I actually had. I became a hero, saved some life, stopped some real bad people from doing bad things. I joined a team dedicated to protect Earth, but as time went on and I started to become more comfortable with the new me, I started to slip back into old habits. Once again, I became a part of a system that was not only comfortable with zero accountability, but I scoffed at the very nation that we could do anything wrong. We were the Avengers after all, but I watched thousands of people die with a weapon I created to defend them and to protect them. I was given a second chance and I wasted it. I don't deserve a third. No matter how I want to make it up to you, I don't deserve it. Despite that, I've been given that chance, graced with it by the United Nations, the United States of the government, a chance to show you that we, the Avengers, are capable of change, that we are capable of accountability. So it's here that I've officially announced the registration of the Avengers under the United Nations are officially under jurisdiction. We are only to be deployed if the battle team is necessary. The silence break as the journalists and reporters start to whisper amongst each other. Tony spoke again, and the new listing of the team, he said. This includes James Rhodes, Natasha Romanoff, Wanda Maximoff, and Dane Whitman, he said. As Natasha stepped out, as she was sporting a new Black Widow uniform, following closely behind her was a man, his hair slicked back in his early 30s. He was wearing a basic leather jacket and brown pants. Held in his left hand was a black helmet with yellow trimmings going down the side of the mouth. Strapped to his side an impressive broadsword. James and Wanda walked past Naruto getting to the stage. James waving to the people of the crowd, while Wanda just went up there to get this over with. As all of them now stood behind Tony, as Tony waited for the onslaught. But it didn't come, as one of them asked, "Where is Captain America?" Tony paused. He then spoke, "I'm sorry to say that, but Captain America refused to sign." The crowd broke out, as they couldn't understand, stopping Tony from finishing what he was about to say. "Hey, what about the Maelstrom? What about Naruto Uzumaki?" As Tony and Naruto made eye contact, Naruto sighed as he walked up on the stage. Time skip. Why are we doing this again? Spider-Man asked, as he was standing horizontally on the basement wall in the Infinity Watch base of operation. "You wanted to train, right?" Naruto said. "Okay," Spider-Man said, "but like how? How long did you say you can cling to a wall again?" Naruto asked. "Like 15 minutes, he said. "That's just when you're clinging. What about climbing up walls like you like to do?" What happens if you need to climb something really tall and you get worn out halfway up? You need to work on your stamina, kid. It will come good in the long way run. No use of standing horizontally. Spider-Man took a look around the basement, as he was still at awe at the massive training room that the blonde Superman had put together. From the gym workout where Jessica was benching 600 pounds, or where Sherry was typing away at the monitors, or where Owen was practicing his new fighting styles, or where Ileana was sitting in a low position, and another shadow clone accompanying each of them, working them through their workouts. So which one is the real you? Spider-Man asks. How are we supposed to tell anyway? The one with Ileana, I think. And you're not supposed to, Parker. Kind of the point of making clones and stuff, you know? Yeah, I guess. So how does someone become a watchman? Asks Parker. A what? A watchman, Spider-Man said. You know, that's what you call members of Infinity Watch. Watchmen, or Watchers, or Infinity Watchers, something like that. Well, I can't really call us watchmen, seeing that most of our members are women. Doesn't really make sense. But you kinda make a good point. Meanwhile, Jessica was looking over at the two. Don't get distracted, the clone said. You just have two more. Well, when that spider kid and your clone, as she benched the two more, as the clone helped her up. Is talking, it really get distracting, she said. Well, looks like the boss gave that one a little more brain cell than usual, the clone snickered. Well, seems pretty par with the rest of you, of course, she said. Meanwhile, Owen was standing across from the clone. So, I'm more powerful than you, he said. Well, when it comes to these specific powers, then yeah. And from what I seen, you don't put on any reserves like I do. I'm confused, Owen said. Alright, so your ability is to warp matter at will. You can construct, reconstruct, and deconstruct, right? As Owen nodded, well, I have a similar ability, using cosmic energy. However, I'm limited upon how much of that energy I gather. Once my tank is empty, I can't use that ability until I refill. And you don't have that weakness. So my powers don't have a limit. Pretty cool, I guess, said Owen. Well, from what I've seen, your powers are limited just by your experience. They're like a muscle. If you don't build it up, they're limited what you can do with that muscle, the clone said. So, what we're gonna do is try and expand your powers. It will take time. I mean, like a lot of time. But once we get there, you will be a goddamn monster. So, where do we start? Owen said, a bit excited. Me and the other clones were speaking, and you see, when you build something, you take a lot of time building up your energy. So what you ought to do is focus it on your fingers. And once you do, you just snap. Owen raised his hand as he got his fingers ready to snap. After a moment of thought, he gathered his energy as he snapped his finger, as Naruto catch the small statue, as it was a statue of him. But it was rather strange. We're gonna have to work on your attention detail, Naruto said. Meanwhile, Ileana was sitting across from the clone. Would you explain why I have to stay perfectly still? Talking isn't staying totally still, Naruto said. His eyes closed as he sat across from her, his body totally motionless. And I want to see if you can learn something. Someone I fought a little while ago showed me that besides me, others can learn as well. Might be because she was a god. Or probably anyone can learn if they have the right teacher. Now, shut up and stay still. I will know if you aren't. Fine, Ileana grumbled, as she sat there for several moments, only for her eyebrow to twitch. Start again, Naruto said. How the hell am I supposed to stay completely still? That doesn't make any sense, she said. You've been trained by monk wizards, and you don't know how to meditate, the clone questioned. Meditating was never my strong suit, and in all honesty, I'm surprised it's yours. You can barely sit still while watching TV upstairs. So I'm put off that you were trying to teach me something that you still cannot do. Fine, he said. Let me show you. I could probably have a talk with Frasier. I haven't talked to her in a while, Naruto said. She could probably use a company. Kurama said. How thoughtful of you. Jealousy doesn't suit you, partner, Naruto said. As Naruto was pulled into his seal, but instead of finding Frasier there on the usual campfire, it wasn't there. The place was calm. Something was wrong as he looked around, as he saw a man sitting down there. He looked to be in his mid-50s. His short grey hair was combed back, and he had a thick beard, black and white, as he was wearing a simple, white button-up shirt with blue trousers that was rolled up to his shins, and his feet was dipped into the calm river as they were in a total different place. As he was sitting, and he had a fishing rod in his hand, as he was looking like he was about to catch some fish. He then turned towards Naruto. Oh, so which one are you? He asked. Oh, I see, sorry, he said. It's hard to keep all of you straight sometimes. What? Who the hell are you supposed to be right now, Frasier? Naruto asked. The man laughed. I'm not Frasier, I'm afraid. The girl ran off. I think I might have ignored her with my presence. This is her private little corner after all. She's not too kind with intruders. As Naruto was surprised. So, let me guess. You're one of her siblings, aren't you? I suppose that is the most given answer you can understand. But if I were to say she was a byproduct of my existence, so I'm for the progenitor. She's bound to me and I to her. There is no way she can be where I'm not. So Naruto said, which one are you? She never went into details. Me? Oh, so many people call me so many different things. So it's kind of hard keeping track. My siblings call me Eternity a few times. A few people call me Time or Fate. Others call me Ian. Or some call me Etum. You like to call me Call, so it's best we keep that. We've met, Naruto said. Not in the sense of here and now, he said with a shrug. And this is where I tell you that I'm in the multiverse as every time and every moment, and I experience in the future, the past, and yada yada yada. So, you can see the past, future, present, and every reality of the multiverse. Saying it like that, you make it sound like I can turn it off and off. Every time I have this conversation with you, it's the same thing. And also having every other conversation at the same capacity. It's getting really boring, Cole said. Just to get this straight, you're talking to other me, while you're talking to me now, Naruto said. I guess I can see how that might get boring. Cole shrugged. There's a pretty large varieties of Naruto out there, so it's not like I'm talking to you alone, or whatever. If anything, you're not even a generic version of yourself. Your path has diverged a lot compared to the brand version. Did you just call me off-brand, Naruto asked. Yep, Cole said, as he started to jiggle the fishing rod in his hand. As Naruto looked at the water, it was him. But not him, he was home, with friends, and his family. This is the version of me that the Mind Stone showed me, Naruto said. So, this is real? Naruto said. Yeah, somewhere out there. This is actually happening, right now. There's a few variations of that. Some of them you marry that Sakura girl. Some of them you end up with that girl Shin. And some of them you end up with that Sasuke guy. What? Naruto said. I'm just telling you what it is. But for the most part, this is the main version of you. So what about the ones I mean, Naruto said? The off-brands I mean. Oh, them. Those get kind of weird, he said. As he shaked the rod once again as several images started to pop up. The first one to show was Naruto wearing a root uniform with him using the Amaterasu. As he had the Sharingan and a cut across his face. And he was using black flames from his hands. That version of you is a root trainee. And there's another version when you were raised by the monks of the fire temple and you had the Rinnegan. As Naruto saw it, another version of him with his eyes closed, as he had a staff that looked like the Sage of Sixth Path. Standing next to him was a older fool. But this is my favorite one, Cole said, as he showed Naruto a version of him when he was a pirate, as he was on a pirate ship. And the next one showed Naruto as a cowboy. I think I shouldn't be seeing any of this, Naruto said. It's kind of strange. Well, I shouldn't be showing you any of this. But you would probably want to know, so I just better get it over with, Cole said. Eventually, Naruto said. No, I can't tell you that part. I don't mind telling you about your alternate self. But I'm not stupid enough to tell you about your future. That is my domain after all. But guys, to be ending this episode right here. If you want to see the next part of this, you know what to do. Like, subscribe, comment down below, and turn that bell notifications they posted. Remember, share to all of your friends in your social media platform. Stay tuned for the rest of what is coming your way, and I hope you guys enjoy each and every one of them. But for now, I'm out. See you guys soon. Peace.